Hey everyone who's joining us online. We're gonna give it a couple more minutes and then we'll kind of get started. We're still waiting for a few more of our board members to join us here, so stay tuned. Okay, everyone.
Give you some more space there. Since we have the whole table. We have the whole table.
There we go. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started for those of us joining online and for those of us in person. We still have a few board members who are not here yet, but hopefully they'll join us along the way and we can just move forward as is. So my name's Jacob Ennis. I'm a member of the Community Board 12 and the Public Safety Committee, joined by my fellow committee members here. If you guys want to introduce yourselves for the record.
Sonia Figueroa Pagan, General Board Member and member of this committee.
My name is Alvin Adamus, member of this committee and general board.
And we're joined here by our guests as well.
Thank you for having me. Fernanda Lujan, Community Engagement Coordinator for the Manhattan DA's office.
And I know we have a number of folks online. If our panelists online want to say a quick hello too, that would be super for my meeting minutes. I know we have a couple people from precincts. Officer Navarrete, do we have you on the line?
Hi, good evening. I'm on.
Hey, good. Thanks. Good to hear from you. And who do we have joining us from the 33rd?
Hey, not sure if anybody should join from the 33rd, but I'm new and I'm with Officer Navarrete. I'm Navarrete. I'm Officer Tavares.
Okay, great. Thank you. We're glad to have you, and we'll see if anyone comes along from the 33rd. We'll go ahead and keep moving forward then. All right. Per our agenda, we'll start with an update from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Fernanda, I will kick it over to you.
Oops. Thank you so much for having me today, tonight. My name is Fernanda Lujan, Community Engagement Coordinator for the Manhattan DA's Washington Heights Satellite Office. So I do have two updates, and the first one being that last week, the DA announced the prison sentence of Rafael Negron to 18 years to life for the 2020 point-blank murder of 26-year-old Joseph Bernard Nunez. He was convicted of 1 count of murder in the 2nd degree and 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon in the 2nd degree. This took place in October 2020 on Post Avenue in Inwood. We want to thank the team of prosecutors and also the NYPD who worked hard to achieve a strong measure of accountability in this matter, sending a clear message that gun violence will not be tolerated in Manhattan. Then the second update that I had was that Victor Leon was arrested and charged for several incidents of stranger assaults, including a few that occurred within the 34th and 33rd precinct confines. All the victims have been women, and our Special Victims Bureau is working with them to ensure that they are supported in any way needed. We are thankful for the quick apprehension of the perpetrator by the 34th precinct, Transit District 3, and the Detective Bureau. We will continue to monitor this case as it moves through the court systems, and we will bring updates as necessary to the community. So this concludes my report for the night. My number is 212-335-3320. For anyone that has any questions or concerns, again, 212-335-3320. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that report. Any questions for Fernanda from our board members? Okay, no questions. We'll move right along then to the report from the 34th, because I think we may not have the 33rd at the moment. So 34th precinct, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Sergeant Rodriguez from 33rd Precinct here.
Oh, great. Thank you, Sergeant Rodriguez. We'll still start with the 34th because that's how I got it on my agenda. So, or my minutes here, but so 34th. or not. Officer Navarette, do we still have you on the line?
Hi, yes, I'm here. I'm sorry, I'm
Hey,
out of the office right now. If is there any chance to be threes? Are they on?
yeah,
Start
three, three,
before
three.
me?
You can go to them first. We
Thank
can
you.
start with that. You got good luck out there. I guess we'll come back to Sergeant Rodriguez. Sorry about that.
Sure. Good evening, everyone.
Hey,
Start off with the 28-day period in the 33rd precinct. So overall, we're down 4.3% in overall crimes. So as far as robberies are concerned, we are up 16.7% in robberies. Felonious assaults, we're down 35.3%. And burglaries, we're down 18.2%. And grand larcenies, we're up 19%. And grand larcenies from autos, we're down 22.2% in the 33rd precinct.
I have a question. Are those percentages in comparison to last year at this time or just within the last quarter?
The last 28 period from this year compared to last year's 28. Any other questions?
yeah, just generally, if you are able to speak to this at all, do you know, you meant, sorry, I'm taking minutes as well, so I'm trying to listen and write, and it's complicated, but I think you mentioned robberies were up 14.6%. Do you have a sense of what is driving that in particular? Like, are there specific trends you're seeing in those robberies, or could you speak more to that?
It's actually 16.7%.
Okay,
So these robberies are there's nothing specific. They're all different kind of robberies. They get robberies from. They could be domestic robberies. They're robberies from behind, people walking into the lobbies. Somebody maybe simulating a weapon, a person like that. Some of these sometimes would have been grand larcenies, but sometimes if somebody gets hurt or assaulted, it turns into a robbery. But it's all different kinds.
got it. Okay. Any other questions from our board members?
I have a question. How many officers are currently in the 33rd precinct? I know that it was addressed back in September, but it just like,
Okay, so total officers. These are all officers from all ranks combined in the precinct. We have 111 members.
and how many use patrol cars?
So every day, as far as how many patrol cars we have a day.
Uh-huh.
Okay, typically
Yes.
we like to have an average of 4 cars on each platoon. And then we have specialty units out there that's not patrol, that concentrate on specific things within the command.
And then as far as police officers on foot, would you happen to have that?
So right now we just have our brand new FTU, which is a field training unit. They will be starting on Friday, and we will have foot patrols within Broadway and Amsterdam Avenue.
More or less, how many officers?
About right now we've got about 8.
And then as far as your what's the word I'm looking for? The way you schedule the day, how many, gosh,
Tours, like different tours, shifts.
I'm sorry, the shifts, how many shifts do you have in a day?
Okay, so we have 3. We have the first platoon is usually the midnight to overnight shift. Then we call the second platoon, which is also from 7 o'clock to around 3:30, and then we have afternoon shift, which is called the third platoon. It starts around 3 o'clock and ends around 11:30.
Okay, thank
The
you.
24 hours. Yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Mhm. Great. I Sergeant Rodriguez, I was just wondering, and this is a question I want to ask both of our precincts. Obviously, there's a lot to be played out this week with the election news, but I think it's safe to say that there are a lot of strong feelings on many sides. And so I was curious if there were discussions among the precincts about how to plan for any, I don't know, anything that may occur in the district as a result of those strong feelings. Just if there's been a sense of the need for that sort of thing. You know, I'm just curious if that's been a topic of discussion.
Strong feelings as for, can you get more specific?
I think specifically, let me. I'm trying to think about how I'm wording this question exactly. I think over the past year, there has been a really good effort from the NYPD at making sure houses of worship in particular feel secure. And I'm wondering if there's a plan to continue to make sure that those spaces feel that they have safety in our community. Has that been discussed?
So for us, NYPD, we are here for everyone, everyone. We are here for everybody's protection. So if any safety concerns would show up, we would address it. But we're for everyone.
Great.
So there has not been any proactive conversations in regards to how the precinct would respond to any situation post-election?
Hi, how are you? I apologize before. I was away from the office. I made my way back to the office. I did hear this question, and the 3-4 precinct, we are aware, and we're keeping in mind of any, if there are any, unrest amongst the community in regards to the election. So aside from that, I know that the mayor and the police commissioner, interim police commissioner, spoke today. Actually, they had a press conference and ensured everyone that we are prepared if anything does happen, which we don't expect anything as of right now. But our main role is to make sure that people who want to speak out and want to exercise the freedom of speech, that they do so safely, and that they're able to do that without being, I guess, being imposed by anyone to express their freedom of speech. We're simply there to provide safety for anyone who wants to do any type of demonstration. More specifically to your question in regards to the election. So yes, we are aware. That's something that's on our mind. I believe the 3-3 as well. We are aware. And us in community affairs, we try to keep informed if any activities would happen within our precinct. We are prepared to have police officers there to make sure that the demonstrators are safe.
Great. Thank you. Anything else for the 33rd? And then if not, we can move to the 34th. No? Okay, Sergeant Rodriguez, thank you for your update. And Officer Navarrete, if you want to continue, and do you have the 28-day reporting?
Yes, I do. Again, I apologize for not being on right away. I was away from the office. Good evening, everyone. Officer Navarrete, Community Affairs Officer. I recently got a new partner, which he was on earlier before, Officer Tavares. He's new to Community Affairs. He's been in the precinct for over 6 years, and his previous assignment was domestic violence. So we're happy to have him on board. I know the community up here in Washington Heights, Inwood, is happy to have him. And I'll move on to the 28-day period. So our 28-day periods in 3-4, murder, the 28-day period, we don't have any homicides. We're down 66.7% in rape compared to last year. Robberies are down 39.1%. Felonious assaults down 8.3%. Grand larcenies are down 23.9%. And car thefts or grand larceny, all of those are down 11.8%. We have seen a spike in burglaries. We're up currently 125%, 28-day period. So compared to last year's 28-day period around this time. That is 9 burglaries compared to 4 around the same time the previous year. These burglaries are a mixture of residential, which is a few of them are residential, but we recently took several commercial vehicle break-ins. So in regards to burglary and commercial vehicles, some may not know, but if a vehicle is registered as a commercial vehicle and someone breaks into it, like say they break the glass, they get inside, and usually those commercial vehicles are generally construction or some type of trade labor, and they steal tools, that is categorized as a burglary. So we took a few of them. It seems like we had one person that was out there just looking for work vehicles. They broke into them and they stole tools from there. And that is why we see an increase in burglaries for this 28-day period. Overall, all crimes for the 28-day period were down 17.1%. And that's what I have.
Great, thank you. And thanks for that definition as well. I think it's always helpful for us to revisit the definitions of certain things, especially in instances like that with commercial vehicles, where there's a sort of nuance to it. Does anyone have any questions?
I do. I have the same questions that I asked the 33rd, and that's how many officers are currently at the 34th precinct?
I heard that question before for the 33rd. So I looked it up briefly for you, and the number that I was able to look for is 128 officers. However, that includes officers who are currently out sick, who are not full duty, and who basically who are sick or not full duty. So that is not the actual number that we have out going on patrol or going to these cars or on these foot posts, as you mentioned, as you previously mentioned.
So how many patrol cars do go out on the different shifts throughout the day?
I don't have that figure exactly how many patrol cars go out that day on specific days. It varies. The reason why it varies is because it depends whether or not our personnel, they have vacation. You know, somebody from that platoon, which we call the shift. There's 3 different platoons, first, second, and third. First being the midnights, from 11 to 7. Then the 7 to 3, which is the second platoon, and then the third platoon being from 3 to 11. The reason why I break it down like that and to explain it that way is because these officers are assigned to certain platoons. These officers may have court, they may have vacation, they may be out sick, several other things like that. So it varies the amount of cars, but I don't want to give you the wrong information. So I don't have the exact number of cars we turn out per day. I'm not sure if maybe we can circle back to that during the next month, or if you want to connect with me offline and maybe I could get that for you.
And then as far as officers on foot, would you happen to have that as well, or should I circle back to you on that one as well?
For the correct number, yeah, you would have to get back to me, but we're doing similar to the 33rd precinct, which we do have the field training unit or FTU officers, who they do go out on foot posts. The exact number I don't have. The only exact number I do have are new officers that did come in that started this week, which are 7 officers. We received 7 officers.
As far as the grand larceny, those are crimes related to vehicles. Am I correct in saying that?
It's a mixture of that and retail theft. Retail theft of something that could be valued over $1,000, as well actually as things being stolen from a person. So meaning that if someone's walking down and they simply have their cell phone held loosely on their hand, and somebody comes along the side and pulls the cell phone from their hand and just takes off running, that can be considered a grand larceny as well. So it is a mixture.
I asked because I do a 2-mile walk on a daily basis, one in the morning, one in the evening, and I walk around Laurel Hill, and I see a lot of crime, and I don't see any police officers in that area in the morning nor in the evening. And I even took pictures because it's concerning to me, the mere fact that that area seems to, from what I'm seeing, seems to be ideal for crime, and there are no police officers in the area in the morning nor in the evening. So,
I do agree with you. Laurel Hill Terrace is a very dim area. It's very dark there. The only area that's pretty much not dark is the back of Yeshiva University, that gated area, because they have light there. Previously, we have tried to see if I know residents have brought up if DOT can put in some lighting, that would work and to kind of as a deterrent. In regards to police not being there, I'm not sure why, but I do know that we are focusing where the violent crimes are happening. That's where the most of our specialized units as well are focusing on those areas and patrolling those areas regularly, where we know there may be something going on in regards to violence. For example, on the midnights when the clubs are dispersing and they know it's a busy weekend, they will be focused around those areas for several reasons. One is for these felonious assaults that I just mentioned. So people fighting outside the clubs, with our presence, we try to prevent that from happening or diffuse that, where it could maybe start as an argument and later turn out as a fight. But we see them arguing and we'll talk to them and they generally disperse. Or robberies, which is what another violent crime is, robberies that occur after they leave these clubs and go to their car. So that's just one example, but there are several others. Wherever there's if we take a shooting takes place, that's where we tend to focus our policing to bring that down. So that's what I can speak to in regards to that.
but I'm also thinking just having the presence of a patrol car drive by in the morning or sometime during the day, I think would be ideal in keeping some of those crimes down in that area. I kind of also think that crimes that occur in that area, especially with vehicles, a lot of the folks don't take it to the 34th precinct to report it. I mean, I'm an example. I had my mirrors stolen and I had graffiti written on my car. At that moment, I didn't go to the 34th. And if you walk through Laurel Hill, you'll see that the majority of cars have these mittens on them because the mirrors are constantly being stolen. So obviously, from my point of view, the thieves know where to go. As you said, it's dimly lit, and they know they're gonna get away with it because there's no presence of police officers in the area. Yeshiva University security guards can care less about what's happening to the community's property on Laurel Hill. So to have the presence of a patrol car, I think would be ideal.
Yeah, I will mention that to the specialized units to keep that as a special attention to that area. But again, I also do encourage anyone. I'm not sure if you winded up doing a police report for that graffiti and for your vehicle being vandalized that way. But if you haven't, you can always still do that report. We'll take that report.
I didn't mean to.
No, it's all right. You can come at any time. And if you want, even if you want to send me an email or text me and let me know when you're coming, I'll make sure that an officer is ready over there to help you out. We definitely can take complaints still from that incident. And I encourage to your neighbors, maybe if you know anybody on Laurel Hill Terrace that may be a victim of a similar crime, please let them know to contact the police department. Please report it. This is the way that we know what's going on, and we can take preventative measures to help this. So by you telling me that this happened to you and sharing this to you, and me communicating it to the specialized units, whether it's the neighborhood coordination officers or the neighborhood safety officers, this way they can pay special attention to that area and address it. So thank you, and please that information with your neighbors.
Yeah, and if you can just put it on someone's agenda, someone's ear, and whomever does the scheduling for the patrol cars or police officers on foot, just to walk by there once a day, kind of a thing, the same way that they go where the clubs are. They should also be able to go where the residents live, and where there's unsafe This, it's not safe.
Well,
It's, you know,
it will mostly be a patrol car, not the foot posts. The foot posts are strategically placed to high crime areas. And that area in Laurel Hill, yes, crimes do happen, but there's other areas in the precinct that need a little bit more attention. Not taken away from that, meaning that your Laurel Hill does not need attention. It definitely does. I'm not saying that, but I am going to bring it up to their attention so they can pass by, and it won't be that they'll be there for hours on end, but at least you'll see them a little bit more frequently.
no, you know, they don't have to be there hours on end. It's just that in the community itself, individuals are saying that, you know, like someone posted recently this week, you know, hasta cuando will these crimes continue to happen? So just to have police presence once a day kind of a thing, or once every other day would be ideal versus not having any police presence and these crimes occurring on a very regular basis. If you were to drive by there, the majority of the cars have those mittens on, and those mittens cost $160 a pair. Yeah, they're not cheap.
Did not know that.
And I'm talking about 5 or 6 cars with these mittens on them.
Yeah.
So there's a problem in that area.
Yes. And again, I encourage them to come to the precinct and to report these crimes. Also, I do encourage an open line of communication. If at all possible, if they can, and if they have the time to. Understand sometimes, you know, you have family to attend to or they have work, but if they're able to attend our community council meeting, is the first Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. The next one is tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the 3-4 precinct. The 3-4 precinct is at West 183rd Street and Broadway. Please invite your neighbors or anyone else that you know of if they have any type of issues like this. If they cannot get a hold of us and they would like to attend this meeting to express their concerns in regards to anything going on in the neighborhood, I invite them to attend because I think an open dialogue would be great.
Thank you.
I think that also raises a really good point about lighting in that area, talking about it being dim. I know that lights are not necessarily going to stop crimes, but they definitely do deter them. And I know this is a subject that's come up in various different locales throughout the community district. It may be good if we can look at, you know, where are areas that are poorly lit and work on something with transportation to see how can our 2 committees go about working with DOT to provide better lighting in those areas, because that may very well help with those issues. Although it's definitely great if folks can attend the community council meeting and speak to the problems that they're having as well. But a thought there, and maybe that's something we can work on as a priority, like for this committee. Great. Any other questions for Officer Navarrete? I do have one, but I want to defer to anyone else before I move on. Okay, if not, then for my question here, I'm sure you're aware, and I'm sure it's been covered, but I know I need to ask. I read a recent report about a 34th precinct cruiser that drove through a closed street where elementary school students were having recess. And I know that there was a lot of concern that that cruiser, which was at the time, as I understand, pursuing suspects, that they had really flown through there and made the kids and our educators feel unsafe. I believe, and correct me if this is wrong, that that was addressed, that action was not the way that should have been handled, and that situation is going to be reviewed. But could you speak to that?
Yes, I could briefly speak to it. It was a pursuit not initiated by the 34th precinct. That day there were 2 separate pursuits, one on the lower end, or I believe it was like 5 minutes prior. That was around the 180 or 190 Street. Sorry, 190 Street and Amsterdam Avenue, and there they went south, and shortly after, a supervisor terminated that pursuit. Another pursuit, which is the one that you were referring to, was initiated by an outside precinct. We're unsure which precinct it is, because in this precinct we get many specialized units. So we're unsure if it's a specialized unit or is a nearby precinct that initiated it elsewhere, because we don't share radio frequencies with other precincts. Our radio frequency we share with the 3-3 precinct. So we're only aware of it when the dispatcher, when they know. I'll give you an example. Let's just say the vehicle's coming from the Bronx, from the 4-4. The 4-4's radio frequency is not the same as ours. They initiate a pursuit. They come into the confines of the 33rd or 34th precinct. That's a different radio frequency. As soon as a dispatcher hears the direction they're going to, they're starting to notify the 3-3 and the 3-4 that there's a pursuit and the description of the vehicle. Pursuits are fast paced. So at some point, the vehicle was spotted by the 34th precinct. They pursued, it was a moped they pursued, and that moped went down Academy Street. They were coming from Cooper going towards Academy Street. The moped actually went around the barriers because there was metal barriers being used to block off that street. The street I'm referring to is Academy Street between Broadway and Vermilion. The vehicle slowed down. The police vehicle behind slowed down and requested a barrier to be moved by a staff member nearby. The staff member moved the barrier. Then the police vehicle proceeded to drive around it, not in the high-speed chase mode at that moment, if for lack of better words. Continued on to Vermilion. The driver quickly then stopped at Vermilion because there's another set of barriers there. Moved it a little bit and went around that barrier and continued on to the direction where the moped was going and continued giving directions via radio of where that moped was going. I believe it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds after that. That officer comes back to the school location to speak with staff members in regards to what happened, explaining what happened, and asking if everyone was okay in the event. Even though they know that there were no children in the middle of the street, thankfully to the staff members actually. So the school was actually well prepared, and they were able to notify using their air horn. They have a code that they use for the students that the students do know what it means, and they were all on the sidewalk instantly while the car was stationary on Broadway before they went through those barriers. Again, that's in thanks to the school. Then that is exactly what happened. The police vehicle did not strike the barriers as initially. I believe some parents reached out to me and told me that that's what they heard, that the police vehicle sped through the barriers. Then there was another version that the police vehicle went around the barriers in a high-speed manner and then crashed the second set of barriers. That's not what happened after reviewing that issue. So what we did afterwards, we did connect with the school and the parents. We spoke with the school and the parents, as the article you're mentioning, and some suggestions were made. But before that meeting, we did contact the school administrators, and we saw what we could immediately make changes to. Number one, those metal barriers were not visible from a distance, and there was a lot of space between the barrier and the remaining of the street. So yes, vehicles could easily go around. So we gave them wooden barriers, the blue wooden barriers, to block off that street, in order for any vehicle to see it from a distance. No, that would not technically prevent any vehicle from going. Like we do have many open streets throughout any neighborhood. But those are just some small actions to change of what was done there. A parent did bring up possibly introducing a sign, and I think it would be a good idea for other schools to follow this as well. But they gave an idea of putting some type of signage, something that you can see from a distance, that would be very visible, where anyone driving will know, like, oh, there's an open streets going on right now. Kids are here, there's school. So I gave them the idea of, I know that there's school zones that have flashing lights, and that says that, and it says the speed limit. So maybe DOT can come up with something and put something like open streets, or make some type of sign with flashing lights. Then maybe that could be more of a sign or a way for drivers to notice that it's an open streets. But that is essentially what happened, what we discussed, and from the feedback that we also got from the parents.
Okay, that is a really good summary of everything. Thank you so much for walking us through that.
No,
And
we take it very serious. That's why I really wanted to give you as much details as I have.
yeah, I think it's a really, I know a lot of people were upset, and there were various iterations of that account going around. So it's really good to understand exactly what happened and the actions that are taking place. And I really love the idea about having better signage there. And I just wrote a note here that maybe that could be another good topic of discussion for like a potential joint meeting with transportation here to talk about different things that we can work with DOT on improving safety specifically. So I'm gonna make a note of that, and we'll come back to that with Eleazar. But thank you for speaking to that. I think that answers my question quite well. Does anyone have anything else on that front? Or anything else for?
I have a question.
Yes, Alvin.
So in this case, the school had recess on the street?
Yes, that's my understanding. I believe, again, I'm speaking to the best of my knowledge, that they were having recess on the street, and it may be that their playground is being renovated. Do you know, Officer Navarrete?
Yes, that is correct. So they're having issues with their playground and getting that project finished. Unsure of what the reasoning is behind that, but they are having trouble, and that is why they moved their students to have recess at that location. That is actually another thing that's more so for DOE to speak for. I don't want to speak on behalf of DOE, but that it was concerns that parents brought up as well, is that why is the playground not being finished? I don't have details in regards to that. That's as much as I know.
So I have just one last question. Don't they need a permit, like, to go on the street? Like, shouldn't that be something that, like, they have responsibility for? Like, wouldn't they have to notify you if they're gonna take a bunch of kids, like, on the streets?
No, correct. Yes. The issue is not that we didn't know. We do know that that's an open streets, as well as many as other schools in the 3-4 precinct that do have this open streets, that have been having it for a while. So we are aware of that. It's a lot more. I'm not sure if maybe your question is, that the officer that was driving not know that street there was an open street. That I don't know. Pursuits are fast paced, so I'm not sure at the moment what was going on with the officer, or did he not know? That I can't really speak on.
Just the term open street is kind of, I don't know, kind of ironic because it really is a closed street.
It is, isn't it?
So,
Maybe
yeah,
it is open for the children to use. I agree with you. Yeah, it's a weird term, but yeah.
Open streets.
It sounds like, from my understanding, like the issue is not with the school itself, like they were.
They had the right to go through the
Yeah,
street,
they were doing what they were able to do that, like they weren't out of line for using that street, that wasn't the issue. But I believe, anyway.
So I wasn't even aware that the DOE, like, they had the open street specifically for schools. That's pretty cool, because then they can have recess on the street whenever they want. I didn't know that. That's cool. So I have last question. Was the perpetrator apprehended?
The perpetrator was not apprehended, because shortly after that occurred, a supervisor terminated the pursuit.
Gotcha. All right.
Well, thank you for the summary, and I think that, my approach to thinking about public safety is always that we really appreciate the work of our officers, but we do also want to make sure that residents aren't caught up in the middle of that sort of thing. So any situation like that is concerning, but I'm glad that everything worked out okay in the end in this particular case, and thank you for speaking to that. Any final questions for Officer Navarrete? All right, then we will let you go, and thank you so much, as
thank
always.
you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Likewise.
Yes. Next up on our agenda, I don't know if we have anybody from FDNY. I bring this up just because I want to see if we can get someone for next meeting, perhaps. Something that's been on my mind personally is that we are getting into the winter months, so it's a really good time for folks to check that their smoke detectors are working, that your carbon monoxide detectors are working. It's one of those reminders that we give each year that's like, oh, we don't really think about that, and who really does think about that? But this is the time of year that well, not today, but it is getting colder. And more folks are inside, and that's when we see a rise in carbon monoxide incidents. So hopefully FDNY can come to a future meeting and speak about that. And then other item on our agenda is if we have anyone from the Edgecombe facility. I don't believe so. But beyond that, does anyone have any old business?
Just to clarify, the Edgecombe was in reference to, I don't know.
So there's the Edgecombe Residential Treatment Facility that's down on, gosh, what is the address? I'm gonna look it up real quick because I'm totally blanking.
So for Dykeman, then,
I think it's lower in the community. Sorry.
So then they were going to present them?
Yeah, Edgecombe, we usually have somebody from them. They're on 611 Edgecombe Avenue, between 164th and 163rd. And so my understanding is that that is a treatment facility that has a variety of programs to help incarcerated individuals. They help with treatment programs, transitional housing, that sort of thing. And in the past, they've come to our meetings and usually share a report. But I don't know that they've come recently, so we may want to check in with them about what's going on there. So I'll make a note.
they're located where, between 160?
Between 164th and 163rd on Edgecombe Avenue.
And their name is?
That's the Edgecombe Residential Treatment Facility. And they have in the past come to talk about the work that they have going on and the number of residents there. But I don't know that I've seen them at recent meetings, so we'll try and get them back to another meeting soon. Any new business? Any announcements?
Should we, regarding what you mentioned earlier with the streetlights for Laurel Hill? That's something that, or should we wait for the next meeting?
I mean, we can discuss it now if we want. There's no need that we have to wait. It could be
We don't
discussed.
have quorum still, right?
We do not, so we cannot really take an official action, but we can discuss it.
I'm sure there's probably other streets.
Yeah.
Nothing really comes to mind, but I'm sure there's other streets that probably benefit from additional lighting.
Yeah,
I remember early on, I remember near the public housing indictment, just in general, they would always put like these big spotlights. I don't
The
know if
light
you've ever
towers,
seen it.
yeah,
The light
yeah.
towers, yeah, massive spotlights, maybe that's something like if it's really like, a prevalent issue. That they installed it there, and I just remember because it was like a
Who installed
massive
it?
spotlight, I think it was NYPD, honestly.
I think they're on WPD, yeah.
Right, between what is Dykeman, between 10th Avenue and Naval? These are these massive, and I just remember I used to run by there all the time, with massive lights and spotlights.
So maybe we can ask the NYPD what it takes in order for them to set one of those up, because maybe there's like a certain threshold that needs to be reached or whatever in either violent crime or any type of crime, and if there isn't,
Mhm.
we could just request it.
Honestly, what I think happens with Laurel Hill and probably west of, for
For Washington.
Washington Avenue.
Mhm.
They're so far from the precinct that stuff happens and you just like chalk it up to living in New York City.
Mhm.
But this situation is a constant.
They're also like not well lit, obviously, which is the
Mhm.
point. For long stretch on both Haven and Laurel Hill, it's one way in, one way out. So you don't pay much attention to the area at all. So it is a problem, I definitely.
The park right there.
Right there. And then another thing that I've heard from, because I have friends that live in that area, it has easy access to the bridge, the walking bridge,
Mhm.
So if you were to want to do something, there's more than one direction you can run in. You can run down to the park.
Mhm.
It's gonna be difficult to catch you once you're down there, especially in the dark. Run over to the Bronx or run into the Heights, so it's definitely a good point.
And the thing is that
And the same thing with Haven. Now, sorry for interrupting. Bridge area,
Where's Haven?
Haven is past Fort Washington.
on the other side.
On the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like literally the last avenue by the bridge, so it's by the bridge.
Can't picture one.
Mhm.
By
You just-
the, in the Bronx, like to.
No, to the west.
Oh, George Washington.
Yeah, George Washington,
Oh,
George Washington Bridge.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you walk down this way, you're gonna hit Haven.
Is it near the highway? Like,
No, it's up the hill from the highway.
okay.
You know what? The
The A train, Cabrini on there?
Yeah, so A train. Once you get off on the 175th Street, and that's gonna be for Washington. You're in the park. You
And
cross the
similar
park.
issue with the lights, like in the dark area?
100% dark. There's a lot of muggings in those areas. Yeah, you know, at least growing up that I remember, those were like classic mugging areas.
You know, it'd be cool, Jacob, I'm not sure if they do, they don't have like a crime map, like for the 28th report, that'd be cool.
I'll look into that, I'm not
Yeah, to
sure.
see
Yeah,
where.
to see what's happening,
Exactly.
right? Like, yeah.
Well, they break them down by sectors.
Mhm.
So they got crime stats so every single precinct is divided by 4 sectors, A, B, C, and D. And they'll have the stats. I don't know how deep they go into. I'm sure in the precincts, they're like, 168 in Amsterdam, 10, incidences of crime, this type.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
I have
I mean, they
seen
should, right?
a map somebody put together that was specifically about vehicle accidents, so that's not super helpful in this context, but I don't know, I can see if I can look into like where they got that data from and if we can produce something similar, just to help us visualize like where our problem area is and that sort of thing. Yeah, I'll make a note of that.
Sadly, even the drug addicts know that Laurel Hill doesn't have police officers, so that's where they literally sit on the benches and shoot up and then pass out. And they're there all night.
Hmm.
And it's not that I'm saying that the police officer should, scoop them or anything like that. But the mere fact that even they know that there's no
Yeah,
one's gonna do anything there because no one goes there unless you live there.
yeah. It would be really good if we were able to represent these issues at the community council meeting. I think several of us are on committees that meet during that meeting. Yeah, like-
Are you
Exactly.
guys, so I'm planning, I've never been to the one for the 3-4, I'm thinking about it.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I should be free, so I'm probably gonna pop there.
If you're able to go and give us a report back, that'd be great, I
All
think.
right, I'll let you know.
Community Housing, we're on health and environment, and they both meet tomorrow, so none of us are able
Okay, so you
to
guys came in.
do that.
Maybe you can take some of our concerns.
Mhm.
Well, no, it's a valid, yeah,
Mm.
I wonder if now, right, will be, yeah, I'm assuming it should be. Right? It's a community affairs.
I think, not to give us like homework because we all already do so much and have our own lives to live, but I think maybe it's good to think about like, what are some other poorly lit areas in the community? And maybe we can have more of a discussion next month, to bring some of that up again. And I can bring it up to Eleazar about having a meeting with transportation to talk about some of these overlapping like public safety transportation issues.
I can tell you straight off the bat, Amsterdam Avenue northbound, straight all the way up. Amsterdam Avenue, on the
Yeah.
northbound side?
Even Audubon.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, do you still have the corner streetlights? Well, but I agree.
I
But, like, on Amsterdam, you're
81st Street from here, and the last meeting, I'm like, I'm not doing Audubon anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because there are some really dark areas.
Mm.
definitely.
I'll make a note here too to ask, next time about the light towers, like what does it take to get those set up and what do they do?
Yeah, I don't think that
I haven't seen one in a while.
Yeah, no, me either, but I don't think it was DOT. I remember specifically.
No,
there was
No,
a
they are
shooting
in,
and it
and they
was-
are NYPD
No,
towers, they
exactly.
requested funding in the past for more of them. So I think good to ask them about that next time, I think they have,
I mean, the ones that I have seen set up, unfortunately, I've seen set up after a shooting.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know
Yeah,
that
it's usually
specifically,
after,
there was a
yeah.
shooting on 160 something once,
yeah.
about a year or two ago, put one. There was a shooting on 180 something, they put one. There was a shooting up in Dykeman. I think that might have been the
And
one they
what's the
put.
reason for it after the shooting? Like that
To
makes no
deter
sense.
any, I would assume, deter any potential, I guess,
repeat?
yeah.
Right,
So instead of being proactive, let's be reactive.
yeah.
Yeah, that's. Yeah,
Any other announcements, any other topics?
Did he give any crime stats?
Yes,
Oh,
we did.
do you, can I?
I did not get them entirely. I'm gonna
Sure.
go through and look at the YouTube recording. Sometimes they come so fast that I just jot down what I can.
34th or the 33rd?
34th.
66% down on rape, that's like huge.
Yeah, that's
39 on robberies,
39 down or up?
down, everything was down except burglaries, which was up 125%.
What else was, so,
I only got
66
66% down, 39% down on robberies, and then down on grand larceny, I didn't get the exact figure.
okay, and what was the one that was up?
Burglaries,
And what was the
And-
percentage?
125.
Thank you very much.
and that was also 9 burglaries compared to 4, so 125 sounds like a ton, and
Yeah,
obviously 9 burglaries is still a lot, but just to put that in context a little bit. And then I know all of this is on the YouTube recording as well, so I often go back and look them up just so I can get the exact figures. And all of this is also online through the NYPD. You can access these reports if you're really curious. And thank you for that. That was much better than my notes.
It's the precinct my father lives in.
Any other points of business?
We, action plan in regards to
You know,
poorly lit areas and improving the signage for the kids, like, will that appear in the agenda for December's meeting?
I'll send a note to Eleazar since he wasn't able to be here tonight. And I think I'm putting words in his mouth as chair at this point. I feel like the best way to go forward with it is that they would be good topics of discussion for a joint meeting with transportation, which maybe we could do for December. I don't know what their agendas are looking like. That's something that Eleazar can figure out and arrange. If it's not December, then it would be hopefully soon. But I can just send him an email after this meeting to summarize that and say, here's what we're thinking. What do we, how can we put this together? So
I'll try to, I'll see where the Laurel Hill area, what section that falls. I think it's section A. But I'll see if that's where those burglaries are, just to like form an argument with evidence to say, hey, this is why we need this. You guys are focused on sector, let's say D and C, but rape, robberies, and grand larcenies are down there. You're doing your job. Refocus over to section A, let's say if that's the right one. And in addition to that, we can request, or we'll find out if, or what is it that we need in order to request the lights. So I'll shoot him an email. I think I have his email, just to see if he can break down the section by section crimes. I know they can. So it's not whether they can or not. I know they can, because I've gotten them for other precincts.
And your name is? I'm sorry.
Erwin Fernandez.
I'm Sonia Erwin.
Oh, anything further? Then I suggest a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Seconded.
That's the first time I ever seconded anything.
Good job.
Great job,
Meeting
Yeah.
adjourned.
Nice chair.
Not even. I'm not coming for Jamina's gig, I don't know.
Phenomenal hosting.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and thank you for coming in
Thank you.
person. Yes, nice
Thank
meeting
you.
you.
Nice
Cheers.
meeting you.
Welcome
Thank
anytime.